Hello, today it is the 26th of October 2024. We will be discussing Chapter 2, The Mind as a House, from the book Awaken to Love by Laura Patryas. Okay, we can put our hands up to start the discussion. One more thing, we are 11 people here. 2 of us have chosen to go on camera. Okay. Terry, do you want to begin the discussion?
Yes, of course, Vana. Thank you so much to our gracious host. Vana, thank you, and everybody else who's supporting this today.
Thank you.
Oh, I cannot stop paying attention. I'd love to read that first quote for chapter 2, The Mind as a House. And the quote is, life is eternal, perpetual becoming, or it is nothing. Becoming is not a thing to be known, commanded, or controlled. It is a magnificent, mysterious odyssey to be experienced. And that quote is by DhypPsych. I know nothing about. I thought that was so beautiful because it's just like welcoming all guests and however it wants to be. And not controlling it, but just allowing whatever wants to appear. And that's the same way with any of the parts of ourselves, the ones that we're ready to meet, being open to it all as being part of the experience. And it really is a journey. Just in the meditation that that the author Patryas provides us with, the guest house of Rumi, which is so beautiful. You know, it just happened, and I went through that experience. I didn't intend anything. I just experienced whatever wanted to manifest itself for me, and the parts of me wanted to see or not see, or change, or morph, or change. Within this exercise, I didn't get to the house. The group of parts that was traveling with me was like a band of characters and parts and beautiful things that I love, going towards, the house. And it wanted to be houses, and it wanted to be a town. So we didn't even have to make a decision. We were just exploring all the opportunities in the first meditation. So beautiful. And it is an odyssey. And can I be open to it? Can I set aside everything just to experience it? Thanks.
Well, thank you. That is brilliant. Yes. Yeah. And I also liked further on when she describes what that means about life being life is a perpetual becoming, or it is nothing. I'm not sure about the nothing, but I guess it's the yin and the yang, and it's everything together. But it is a magnificent, mysterious odyssey. And then she talks about the ancient Greeks. And I have to highlight that because I'm Greek. So the ancient Greeks were saying, know thyself. And they would put that inscription above the doorways of some of their most sacred temples. And why? She says, Laura says here, the author, because cultivating a deeper relationship with one's own inner nature was considered vital for the evolution of human consciousness, needed for personal and collective growth. So without having that inner relationship with yourself, without knowing yourself, you can't achieve that personal and collective growth. And I am surprised that the ancient Greeks knew about that all those years ago, I don't know, 400 years before Christ. This is like, wow, this is quite incredible. And I'm also surprised about, I love Rumi's The Guest House. I don't know if anyone has got a good voice to read it. Anyone would like to read it? I don't know. Would anyone feel comfortable to read this poem?
I can read it.
Okay, go on then. Marilyn, go there first. Go on, Marilyn. Yeah.
This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them in. That is beautiful, and it takes courage to invite all of these states.
One more
I'll
thing.
make. Pardon me.
And it continues. Be grateful for whoever
Oh,
comes.
it continues. I'm sorry.
Yeah, gratitude.
Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Brilliant.
Well, that's
Thank
the most
you.
important part.
Yes.
You know what I noticed, and I'd like to make a small comment, is this idea about that we're always becoming and we don't have to know. You know, I'm attached to knowing, and an inner nature of mine is a lot of fear. And so I have a lot of fear about the tasks at hand, the things that need to be done. And yet it invites this laughing and pleasure, inviting all of these sorrows and fears without having to know the outcome. And to me, that is extremely liberating. And thank you, I am done.
Thank you. I am curious about what you think about this poem. And just I want to share like a personal experience. When I first came across this idea, concept, welcome your emotions with gratitude, I was trying to do that. And I found it extremely hard. That was years before IFS, guys. And I thought, I got a little bit disappointed. I thought, that doesn't work for me. Yes, but I kind of know different now. I'm glad I found the key to unlock the door and welcome everything with a smile. So yeah. Anne?
Gratitude is like a very loaded word, and maybe it didn't mean the same exact thing in that time. But I mean, one thing's to allow and to recognize there's nothing wrong, that nothing needs to, there's nothing wrong with these guest houses being here. But then the actual use of the word grateful can be, it can bring up other parts. Like, I'm not feeling this magnanimous feeling of gratitude, so completely understandable, and think such a common experience when people are asked to be grateful. I mean, I think can be triggering, to ask someone to be grateful. It's a demand in a way. That's something that should just arise naturally, or be cultivated with the openness to the possibility of being grateful is very different from like, be grateful now. Yeah, I'm complete.
Thank you. Yeah, V?
Yes, for me, the analogy about welcoming, I can welcome the guests that come to the house. I will take care of them. I'll prepare cooking and all that is kind of parallel. In India, it's very common to be a good hostess or host to welcome your guest. When it comes to my inner world, I understand the concept and know thyself from my religious spiritual practice. But when those parts come, especially the grief at the morning, and then the parts require rest, because I always wanted to take care of others. I'm becoming more aware of. I'm welcoming those parts. But the gratitude apart. I'm grateful for the community, the outer community, but gratitude for those parts. It's a challenge for me right now, and I wanted to get there. I say I welcome you, but what in the body, the sensation, the discomfort. Mind is quiet. You know, I'm sitting with it. I guess I'm welcoming. I'll get there in the gratitude state too one day. That's all I wanted to say.
Great, thank you. Brilliant, thank you. Mary Jane.
Yes, I'm also having a hard time wrapping around the gratitude for, because I think of all the painful parts, because it feels like almost I have to have gratitude for all that pain. But I don't know if this is the way to think about it, but I guess I can have gratitude for what those things taught me, and that now I can get more of a sense of self from going through all the healing work that it's taken to figure it all out. But yeah, just having gratitude for the pain I'm not sure if anybody can say a little more about how can you actually have great gratitude for a room that's just full of pain, except for what you learn from it, maybe.
Yeah. So, yeah, are you complete, Mary Jane? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So I had like resistance, especially, guiding clients and telling them, when you find self to part, be grateful for your, for your anxiety. That to me, it was forced in the beginning, but now it's not, because my understanding is different. So for me, it's about being grateful about the positive intention, because every part wants to protect you. So from its point of view, that's what it knows. It doesn't know anything different. And it doesn't, often it's not aware of other perspectives, other parts. So it is the self's kind of, I don't know, job to invite them all together and to connect with all of them and get them to know each other. But if they know each other, then they come into like a kind of negotiation and they find a different way, hopefully not I've not really seen a part causing pain for no reason. Yeah, I'm complete. Terry?
Yeah, I am a chronic pain sufferer, and to the point where I couldn't really see because of light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, skin sensitivity. And I, had experienced, everything when I was, maybe trigger warning, but I was OD'd after a 14.5-hour back surgery through my stomach to get to my back. So I was wide awake when they gave me a shot of Narcan. So I couldn't even move a big toe. Now, what's interestingly enough, so the Narcan takes every good sense of everything out of your body, and you're just stuck experiencing it. So my body is sensitized. However, what I have found is, and now I just, I have the pain dances around, but it usually wants to communicate to me. Now that I'm not judging it as bad, I'm open to what and welcoming what it is telling me. Now, on the left side, and this is great about IFS, is that I'm beginning to have a relationship and value for those parts that tell me I'm in pain. Instead of the judgment, say, I want to get rid of you, fix it, go away, you're bad. I'm saying, and I did this last night at an IFS group, Recovery Dharma, all parts, fantastic. And I found that this part of my neck was a part, and I had to step back from it. And then my hands told me they could help my neck and posture. And if I could sit and meditate when I'm sitting on the floor and use my arms as support behind me. So other parts, once I welcomed it, other parts then could communicate in the state of grace, to come to the awareness. It's not just the awareness, the self energy that goes to the parts. The parts also have something to communicate. So whenever this part comes up, it's saying, oh, readjust your posture, stop thinking, rest. And right now I'm working with my throat. I've not had my voice complete, and it's telling me to do breath practices. So now I'm actually introducing new things. So if you listen, you might hear something that might be really helpful to all the parts, to your body or something. So that's what I found for myself.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you. That was
Thank you.
beautiful.
Yeah, wow. That's quite wonderful. Yeah, getting our parts to communicate. Because I've also worked a little bit with pain. And I find unless there's also, deep trauma, someone can ask their pain signal, would it be okay if you reduce your intensity as long as I take care of you, as long as I go to the doctor, as long as I do the exercises, I don't, I take care of you and I give you rest. And when you say that to the part, you say, look, I can see your pain intensity from 0 to 10 is like a 9. Would it be okay if you come down to 2? But I promise I will take care of you. I will not ignore you. And when the pain signal feels that it's safe with you, I have seen it with people. It kind of it relaxes. It's not so intense. But if there is also, if there's if there's a lot of trauma behind it, then it is more challenging and it needs more work, deeper work. Yeah. So I'm gonna flick through the pages and let me know if you like something. So, quickly to say that, the house as a metaphor, you find that metaphor everywhere. Carl Jung had this metaphor. So many different disciplines. Similar type of metaphor, organized a little bit different. The Buddhist psychology had this metaphor, seeing, like there's this, the ground floor termed mind consciousness, while the basement is known as the store consciousness. And here's like Jung, there's a picture of Jung with the conscious top half where the self lives, and ego, or the ego, not self. Self is more like IFS, where the ego and parts live, and the unconscious bottom half, where like maybe shadow parts live. Yeah, Marlene?
Yes, that's very interesting. Above that picture, she talks about the ego representing the conscious mind. However, the ego does not have access to repressed memories and deeper insights possessed by the self. And then the issue is that it says the personal unconscious stores these forgotten and repressed memories. And I guess these turn into complexes, or this is where complexes reside. And I'm interested in complexes. They're clusters of thoughts, feelings, and memories centered on a single idea. So that tells me it becomes obsessive. And it's operating semi-autonomously. So I don't have control over it while it exerts significant influence. And, I relate to that, having complexes and neuroticisms and all that. And so building a relationship with these shadow parts, and not reacting in real life in a really extreme way to these unconscious forces. Because for me, they're like exiled children. They come up and create havoc. And then I have a lot of apologizing to do. So anyway, that part interests me. Thank you. And I'm complete.
Yes, but thank you, Marlene. And I I work a lot with phobias and fears, and often it's not very easy to even find where, you know, those exiles, those unconscious, forgotten. She talks, like Young talks about the forgotten thoughts and memories. It's sometimes it's difficult to make that stuff conscious. Okay, here's one little example, because I work a lot, for example, with height phobias, and
I think Dana froze.
Yeah, and the sharing is gone too. So maybe she got kicked out with her internet. Oh,
That could very well
here
be.
she goes.
yeah,
Here she's
I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm back. So I was just yeah, internet glitch. So I was just saying that even though like I'm working with those phobias, simple phobias, for example, okay, and somebody stays with their fear, and then a memory comes up. Always a memory will come up of some sort, whether they are 2 years old or whatever. They can be 50 or 60, and a memory of when they are 2 or 4 or 6 will come. But as an adult, they will doubt that. Like a girl, she got scared of spiders when she saw a man dressed in a spider suit on TV. And you know, her, whatever, let's hypothetical, okay, let's say her relatives reacted. They didn't like the spider suit. They screamed or whatever they did. So as a little girl, she got scared of spiders. But as an adult, she can never connect that. How can I be scared because of a spider suit? It's like it doesn't make sense. So often those parts, the scared parts, we will dismiss them. Yeah, because you know, as an adult, you can't really understand. You can't see from a kid's perspective how that can be scary. Like a spider suit or whatever, a Halloween suit, that can be scary for a child. But it's very difficult to, on their own, if you're on your own without the guidance of a therapist, it's quite tricky to identify the parts and identify your shadows and everything that's in storage. It can be tricky. Anyway, so I'll move through. Here, the house analogy finds parallels in neurophysiological research as well. But in this type, but here with neurophysiological research, they talk about the house as a corporate headquarters.
Vana, I think you're not sharing.
Oh, I'm not sharing, sorry. Oops. Here, the neurophysiological research here. And the same metaphor, you know? So all different disciplines, they love this kind of house metaphor, whether it's corporate headquarters or something, or storage or basement, or yeah. Oh, and then here I really like those words here. This is here I'll read this bit. With trauma and accumulated burdens, the once coherent floor plan becomes convoluted, unfamiliar, and intimidating. The house morphs into a disorienting labyrinth with locked doors, symbolizing inner resistance that impedes natural energy flow and unification. To unlock doors and dismantle walls, we are called to an inner heroic journey of self-discovery. She will discuss that in chapter 6. We are invited to meet and understand our wounded parts' origins, to delicately reconnect their fragmented existence and gradually restore cohesion. As doors open, the self's energy can flow freely again, fostering balance and integration. The house can transform from a perplexing maze into a welcoming space. And I will jump a little bit to this quote by an Indian mystic. Love opens all doors, no matter how tightly closed they may be, no matter how rusty from lack of use. Your work is to bring unity and harmony, to open all those doors which have been closed for a long time. So there is a bit of work to bring love to your system. It's not going to just happen. Yes, 30?
I just love this too. I'm so resonating with this. It is such a heroic inner journey of discovery, both inside and outside us, even discovering those houses and where we want to go. And then you look at the model of Jung and knowing that there is this collective unconsciousness that we are, that's in us. And, some would say that we can rest in a higher power and that our higher power rests in us. And I think having that unconditionality, which I think is that attitude more of it's grace that welcomes all, that can then maybe lend itself to gratitude to welcome the shadow or the darkness. But I think it's that awareness, because as I've been doing the work, realizing the good intentions of the parts, some parts have had a bit of monstrous effect, but underneath them is just something I don't understand. If it takes a little time, there's an intention or something underneath that. And it's just the perspective that needs adjusting for that unity and harmony. So instead of going, oh no, pain, it's saying, what do you want to tell me? What do you want to show me? Gosh, you've gone through all of me to get my attention, and easier said than done when it's a pain in my neck, a stab in my eye, or a pain in my butt, because I have, it's still bringing something, so if I don't go, oh no, oh my God, I try to do, oh my God-ectomies out of my life to prevent the catastrophizing, as my inner language is slowly changing too, becoming more gentle and welcoming, more of a love language, as nonverbal communication would say, with the heart of a giraffe. But I love that. I love that the, bringing that love and unity to all parts, all of it. I could call something bad, but it has a different layer to it when you really look at it. Thanks.
Thank you. I do have a question, because before we started recording, we did the exercise house of self. And I have in my system, I think that seeing parts like in different rooms or drawing them or psychodrama, anything like that really helps speeds up the relationship with yourself. How do you, I wonder, are you open to externalizing, and how do you relate? How do you understand those exercises? Yes, Terry, did you say?
Yes, because I have my little notepad here. So when I was talking about, when I was doing the meditation as it was being read to us, I actually drew a picture. So that becomes a little heuristic that can maybe welcome that part again if I want to visit it, or it pops into my mind and my heart wants to explore it. I can then revisit this imagery because it popped in very joyful, very interesting to want to visit something very joyful and beautiful, that I mentioned, this big group, going towards the house, to revisit that. So I drew pictures and of all the things that were morphing in the imagery and feelings that I had. And I'll come back and work on it because it's still part of me. It's there. So it is like a little, I can go and tap into it again, as it comes. And I've revisited a lot of the images that I've drawn beautifully because if you're present to them, you experience them. And so you're wrapping your heart and your love around them as you're with them, with these experiences. So they're beautiful. You can go back and visit them. So it does help. You're exactly right. You're exactly right to draw, to do, to talk about it with somebody, even in a group.
Oh yeah, love it. Thank you. Excellent.
Thanks.
Yes, V.
Yes. Lot of realization for my part is coming up. My external homes and my internal home. I've been kind of struggling with the morning part of the disconnection and even the memory. I was resisting because I'm a doer. I was just had to do things in order to love myself. Now, when I was burning out a few times in my life, I burnt out, depression, anxiety. So I'm grateful for those two because the depression part, and I feel so tired that I can rest. So rather than pushing, even yesterday I was wanting to have this energy tea, this and that, then I couldn't sleep all night. So the grateful, I need to be grateful for that part too, when my body's feeling tired and it doesn't want to visit anyone. And it's helping me. There's a reason the depression came in. There's a reason I depressed because the disconnection from my grandma at age 5. And there was nobody in the home to help me because everyone was dealing with their own stuff. Mom had health issues. So no wonder, that my body feels tired. I don't need to be drinking this energy tea. A lot of awareness coming up as we're talking about these parts. And I need, I'm grateful for the tiredness part too. I'm grateful for this group helping to become aware. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's brilliant. Thank you so much for the share. Thank you. Okay. I'll move through the pages. Terry, is your hand still up or yeah, okay.
Nope.
No, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So Jung believes in the ego, and ego is like your identity. But ego is not self. So it says here, therapeutic approaches like Parts work aim to gently and compassionately shift leadership away from the ego and toward the self, allowing it to act as a benevolent guide, effortlessly drawing from the riches of the entire psyche, both the conscious and unconscious. I know for a fact that self is not ego, but it took me quite a while to realize that, to really get a sense of that. You know, you are not your pain. You know, I have my pain, I have my, you know, whatever whether it's a health or whatever else we all have experience, parts of us experience, but we are not that. And here in it talks about this iceberg, that because of survival and faster data processing, as what Darwin would say, we have data reduction. So the conscious mind processes 50 bits per second, but the unconscious 11 million bits per second. But we're only aware of 50, not the 11 million at a given time. So this compensation was evolution's way to help us survive by preserving the capability to act. What happens when our unconscious mind is not aligned with our conscious interests? And this is very interesting, because she says here, despite efforts like positive thinking, affirmations, manifestation techniques, intellectual awakening, they only influence the mere 50%, 50 bits per second of our conscious focus, a tiny fraction compared to the vast expanse of the unconscious mind. Like the small visible tip rising above the water, these methods have little impact on the submerged bulk of the iceberg beneath. And the therapeutic aim is to cultivate deeper synergy between the conscious and unconscious realms, working together, working towards an integrated whole. And the unconscious as a collaborator rather than an adversary. Like Freud thought of the unconscious as the adversary, the bad part of us. Or Jung talked about shadows, but I think he valued our shadows. He valued the unconscious. Yes, Terry?
Oh, I'm just piggybacking off your excitement and enthusiasm, because it's yes, yes, yes. You know, that, you know, can we have a collaboration? How do we get there? To have that collaboration with our conscious awareness, with that which is unseen, that is being recorded at all times below, you know, below our conscious level. And that's what's so beautiful about opening up to the self energy in IFS, because that's the screen. That's the mark between the seen and the unseen. You know, those parts, like you can go behind the curtain with IFS and meet some of that wants to come up when you slow it down with the clarity, with the 8 C's, right? And the 9th, you know, a choice to maybe look at something a second time that you kind of was uncomfortable. But yes, the unconscious can be a collaborator if you can welcome it, if you can be open to something a little different than our conscious way of being. You know, if we're only thinking we're that little bit above the iceberg, then your ego has to kind of bow. Your identity has to soften. there has to be kind of a loosening, so for other things to come out, a slowing down almost, but a loosening, for that. So the breath practices have been really helping me to slow down the mind. How can you access the quiet pool that's underneath our conscious level without kind of slowing things down? Because it's saying the ego only records that which it can capture within that flood of senses. That's that little tip of the iceberg, but all of it's being recorded and is also connected to all that has been recorded ever. That's what's amazing, that the breath we're breathing is the same. So breathing in that life force and also slowing things down in our system so that we're not being biased by any one of our systems can really, really help. That's what's beautiful. Thank you so much, because this just makes things much clearer for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And it's gonna get, I don't know if it gets a little bit more confusing here, because I'm gonna read a little bit and I'll explain why it might get a little confusing. Laura, the author, talks about the unconscious is often depicted as primal and chaotic, blamed for our troubles and anguish, okay, in opposition to the orderly conscious mind. We kind of value the consciousness, the conscious mind. But unconscious and conscious elements are deeply interconnected in their interdependent components of the psyche, much like the complementary forces of yin and yang. The parts that make up the unconscious do not lack consciousness. And she doesn't like to use the word unconscious. She suggests that the word transliminal is used instead of the word subconscious, because the unconscious is not a fixed entity imbued with negativity, but rather a dynamic and splendid process reminiscent of a verb. Yes, I don't. I've got Terry and Anne. I'm not sure who goes first. Let's see.
I didn't put my.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Anne.
Yeah, I think the use of the word unconscious means so many different things, and so there's different layers of unconscious and types of unconscious, and we use it sometimes in language to be like, oh, they acted unconsciously, as in thoughtlessly, so it has that connotation in usage sometimes. And on the other hand, she was very clear, as in there is just everything that's outside of our conscious awareness at any given point, and yet those processes are existing. They might be influencing us, they might be having their own morphing and solving problems in our sleep, in our whether it's just in the background. This is why ideas suddenly come, even if we're not actively thinking about them, as long as we kind of pose the question, or are aware there's a question to be solved, then sometimes they just come spontaneously, the answer, because we're unconsciously working on them. So yeah, so I think she's just trying to move away from the kind of idea of unconscious as being like that, as you just said, the chaotic, thoughtless kind of thing, but actually it's a very deep, multifaceted process of all the aspects of ourselves that we're not currently paying attention to, which is most of us.
Oh wow, yes, yeah. So thank you. Yeah, I can see she's trying to make this definition clearer. And she talks about conscious as the consciousness is synonymous with awareness, presence, or beingness. From the non-dual perspective, consciousness represents the fundamental essence of existence itself. It is this omnipresent, omniscient quality that is inferred when using the term consciousness. So the term conscious is to do with the attentional focus. And the unconscious, or transliminal, refers to the vast and profound phenomena that exist far beyond our immediate perception, the submerged bulk of the iceberg. And here what she says, okay, the author's hope. She hopes that one day the ego boldly stake its claim in the, well, that's how she pictures it actually. That's the picture. That one day, okay, the ego boldly staked its claim in the tiny island of the conscious realm, asserting, this is the superior domain. I shall establish my stronghold here. The unconscious is too untamed. I'll journey into its depths, confront its beasts, and assert dominance. And this is something that is known as imperialism of the ego. And despite the ego's attempts to assert control over the psyche, it finds itself unable to do so. It is the self that possesses a persistence perspective, a virtuous power akin to the Tao, capable of spanning all realms, including the conscious and unconscious, with its expansive viewpoint. So that, wow. For people that don't know IFS, they all, clients where they will come here and say, I know what to do. I will stop my addiction. I know, I am determined. I'll beat it. Or, I hear a lot about, I will conquer my fear. And I'm complete. And I know a few hands were up. Sorry. Is anyone else want to say anything? Yes, Teddy?
It's amazing. I love how this gives us that experience and a better language. My experience doesn't have it. It's because, like with the transliminal, as she calls it, it's more like a knowing. It's not a language. It's a conscience. It's that conscience when you're moving in the right direction. You could feel that, either the wind is at your back pushing you, or you're feeling blocked and it's becoming a struggle. I'm starting to pay attention to the subtle nuances now, as I awaken. As I really don't mind saying that, I had to put down a terrible addiction. It's very easy in this medical world to always be given a pill, a surgery to try to fix everything. And I did the same thing. Take a pill, always thinking I could fix something. Take a drink, numb the emotions, put it out of my mind. But that's why I say, even in 12-step recovery, I'll even put this out there. I don't mind, because we're all learning and growing. Because, numbing is one way to escape the pain. But then all of a sudden you say, I don't have the answers anymore. I don't know. You're now setting your ego aside and dropping into the language of heart to then listen to a power that's greater than myself. May that be my unconscious level? That conscience? Curious, that little subtle whisper that knows if the next thing I'm doing has that knowing that it's the right thing, or that part of me that's saying stop. Sometimes it's very subtle. That's why I said I'm just slowing it down so I can feel those energies. I'm not a to-do list anymore. Gratefully, I have burnt out of all the ego stuff, all the accolades, the appearance, the getting the nails done, the hair done. And I have a chance, and or even have to go on this vacation to then really get to know this odyssey that's going on inside of me and slowing it down. So it's really been interesting, because it's very, very interesting, but the imperialism of the ego is the perfect addict. It doesn't care about anything, not even its own body, family, its children, society, so I think the integrity goes, when the ego can bow, like I said before, there's a subtle difference. When you're turning your will over, something else can happen.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yes. And I think it is the ego that says, like, let's use the affirmations. Let's I don't know, let's use let's take that pill to numb us out, or I'm not entirely sure about, people use a lot the coaches, and I'm not, they can help. Certainly certain strategies can help, affirmations can help, coaching can help, but also you need that inner exploration, like this trance-like experience. The inner realm feels trance-like, going inside and getting to know your inner world. And
just a comment about the non-self, non-ego, in the meditation groups I'm in, and these people have like really achieved high levels of ability to, embody like non-self states, but then sometimes problems can happen. Like someone shared that their body is really wrecked. And I've also heard this on a podcast, another meditation teacher, she shared that because she was able to dissolve pain so easily through her mind and through entering this this conscious, this non-ego state, she could dissolve all her physical pain, and she actually didn't take care of medical issues. And this was also shared by people in the group as well. Like they just could, dissolve away the pain. They didn't have to use their body in a more ergonomic way or a more careful way. And they really ended up with like chronic injuries. Someone else actually had also experienced like making a really risky decision at work and like losing lots and lots of, yeah. So like, just like these things can happen, overly non-self. And, the ego also is there to kind of take precaution, engage in real world systems, and use these stories to make wise decisions. So both are kind of need to be, I think, used in balance. Yeah, I'm complete.
yeah, wow, thank you. That's wow. Yes, that's spiritual bypassing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's next? Is Terry next? I'm not sure.
I didn't lower my hand. I got to get better at that. Sorry.
No worry. Marlene?
Oh, yes. For Jung, he talks about the unconscious as not just being shadow parts, but a vast metaphysical realm. And, he helped AA get started by telling this man who couldn't stop drinking that he either was going to get locked up for life or he had to find a metaphysical realm. He had to tap into his unconscious, essentially. He had to tap into something that was not on a physical realm. It was on a metaphysical realm. So that was a very difficult bridge to build. And a drunk talking to another drunk, somehow that morphed into bringing in a spiritual aspect, which was not religious, which was not dogmatic. And the self is also not constrained by any of these boundaries. It can transcend the divide between the conscious and unconscious. So there's something really powerful in this transcendence. And
Yes.
yes, thank you. I'm done. Yes.
Yeah. And it's going to get a little bit more strange later on, I think, because it talks about the collective, and it makes so much sense. Not just conscious, unconscious, and collective. You don't exist without others. How do you know where you are? Terry?
Yes, it's so interesting. I have to tag on Marlene there because my head has really been into Carl Jung and archetypes, and there is a book that's being released now by Cody Peterson that examines Carl Jung and has really identified an interesting set of archetypes, the trickster, the alcoholic, and the shaman. It fits. And a bunch of us have listened to Cody Peterson's talks. And just like a bud is a fruit, is a flower, or the acorn is an oak tree, the butterfly, was a caterpillar. The butterfly may know it was a caterpillar. Maybe it has that, probably has that, right? That form in itself. But that when put to some kind of use, it can really become a very enlightened archetype if the ego bows, and very interesting. So I just wanted to bring that up, that Cody Peterson takes Jung to, weaves it all in and out with the alcoholic archetype. So interesting. So this is really a beautiful, beautiful awakening. Thanks.
I'm trying to find the book. Do you have a title? He is on YouTube as well.
Yeah, there's a presentation. If you look at the Friendly Circle Berlin, he did a beautiful presentation and slides.
Oh.
And his name's Cody Peterson on the Friendly Berlin channel, which presents.
He does have. He's got a website, The Archetype of the Alcoholic and the Journey to Enlightenment. He does have quite a few. I understand. I know about the Berlin group.
Right. But there's also, he just did another presentation last night, but he also talks about Jung and the interaction with Bill Wilson, the founder of AA, one of the founders of AA, and how that happened. And then he also talks about the influences on Jung when he came to America. It's beautifully done. So he talks about the spiritual ancestors of AA, the 12-step recovery movement. So, and YouTube, there's 2 talks that were very recent. One was this past Thursday. There's another one by a different group, but there's the 2 presentations by Cody that have been, just an awakening and part of the journey. Really beautiful. Thanks.
Great, thank you, guys. We're coming to the end of this recorded portion of the book club. Is anything else? If not, I'll stop the recording and we can continue with a private discussion. Okay, I'll stop the recording now.